Welcome to AutoRetro, the podcast where we talk to guests about the cars of their lives. I'm Ed.
And I'm David.
And that's Byron.
And I'm Byron.
This
Thank
is
you.
Byron.
Thank you. I was just waiting for the cue card.
Oh, no. I've got to do much better introduction than that.
Yeah.
Byron is a motoring journalist that's been in the industry since 1997.
Now, he said to us before...
AD, not BC.
That's right.
Indeed.
He said to us before, though, David, he's Australia's most unloved motoring journalist.
Excuse me. I am Australia's least beloved.
Least beloved.
One line, Ed, one line.
Okay, that.
Yeah, it's like when Rock Hudson couldn't nail that first line. Do you remember?
I don't.
No, okay. Yeah, he still managed to get a career in Hollywood. So,
Well,
So, you know,
There's hope for us all.
There's
still
hope.
hope.
There's hope for us all. Can I continue?
Please. Please.
Byron has contributed to many magazines, online platforms, including Go Auto, Wheels Magazine, Cars Guide, and as Ed jumped in, Australia's least beloved motoring journalist. Welcome, Byron
Welcome,
Mathioudakis.
Byron.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome,
I'm
Byron.
thrilled to bits to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
We can't wait to hear some of your stories because I know...
Oh, we've already heard a few, and I think there'll be a
I
few
know
more
there's
to
a lot.
come out.
Oh,
Yeah.
you watched last night's episode of
True crime.
True Crime? Yeah. Or maybe True
What's that?
Crime.
Crime Stoppers where they reenact things.
Yes.
It could be that.
Yeah,
That's
it would be
right.
that, yeah.
I've got a story about that too later. Yeah,
okay,
with the
we'll
Honda
get to
Car
that.
Club. There you
We'll
go.
get to that.
Byron, now
Yes,
you've
Jake.
seen a couple of these before, so you actually know a bit of the format of what we do. So we'd like...
Big fan. First time caller, long time listener, guys. Thank you. Yes.
This is going to be a long podcast.
It is going to be a podcast, sorry. And
It's going to be a good podcast.
hopefully, yes.
Let's take you back. Let's go back. So you were born a few years ago now.
I was born in 1967, the Summer of Love.
Summer of Love.
Or in car parlance, I like to think that I was born in the year of the XR Falcon and the HR
And the HR Holden.
Yeah.
Indeed,
I think,
exactly.
do you guys do that? Is that
Oh,
something you
yeah,
do?
yeah.
So what are you?
So you're a 67 model.
Yeah, so I'm an HR Holden / XR Falcon / VE Valiant.
I'm a
Okay.
first-gen Accord. You know,
Ooh, you
Wheels
are.
Car of the Year.
I knew it was
Honda
the reason
Accord.
I
Yeah,
liked it.
77.
Okay, well, or if you like, you're an HX. No, you've been HX Holden.
Oh, yes.
Because your birthday is
27A.
coming
That's right.
I'm July.
July. So that was before the HZ. So you are a ATR 27A fail, known as the HX Holden,
I'm feeling a bit depressed.
You are.
and a CL Valiant too.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
I'm an EH
Is there nothing
Holden.
else?
Oh, sorry, and sorry.
Hang
and,
on, what about
and,
the W123 Mercedes? That we got them in 77 here.
We did.
We did.
And
Can't
also,
I be that?
and also in reference or deference to John Orlando Burt,
Yes.
an XC Falcon.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
NXT.
I
Lovely.
feel a bit depressed.
And
ESP.
Yeah, David, what are you?
I am an EH Falcon. Oh, sorry, an EH Holden.
Yeah, Holden.
Stop
Are
talking
you
about
60?
Falcons.
It's looking great for 1988, isn't it?
The EH was released late in 63, I believe, from memory. I was there, I should remember, but I was only...
I was definitely
months old.
Very small.
Morris 1100, I think.
Oh, see, that's good. I like
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Take that.
Very love the old ADO
Quite a nice era of Beetle too, 63
Yes.
Beetle.
Yep.
Big
And you're
Super
also
Bowl hubcaps.
Yeah.
XM. Are you XM Falcon? I think you're XM Falcon.
We
Yeah.
were Holden people.
Yeah, but I mean, in the parlance of what we're talking about, you were
what you
you were
mean.
probably an AP5 Valiant as well.
AP5,
I
yes.
like them.
Yes, yep.
My mum had one of them.
Torque flight push button automatic. Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
Yes. So
Now we
So-
need to rewind. We need to go back and take Byron back.
not that far back though.
Back
'cause
to
I
the
wasn't.
back to
No,
the
it's hard
crib.
to have those conscious memories from the crib, isn't it?
What do you remember, Byron? What was your first car?
Okay,
memory?
you know, it's funny you should say conscious memories from the crib because I fell in love with cars when I was a toddler, and I had a dream I was driving a car.
Wow,
Now-
that's advanced.
It was,
He's
and
gifted.
the car I was driving was an Austin A30. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll probably there'll be a picture of an Austin A30. Not from
Yeah.
my dreams. I didn't download the image from the
They're
dream.
very narrow.
Very
That's
narrow.
right.
Incredibly narrow.
They're the quintessential 50s Austin. Tiny, narrow, tiny doors, very cute.
They were like a noddy car. Really, they looked
That's
like a
perfect.
toy.
They were,
Yep.
Well,
Don't
that's
they?
right. The Wallace and Gromit used them in a number of movies.
Exactly. So I was maybe 3 or 4. So we're talking
Okay.
very early 70s.
And Peter Brock raced one at one point.
He did.
He did.
You're
That was
right.
his first
Yeah,
one.
with
Yep.
fat wheels
Yep.
and mag
It
Extended
seems
wheel
ridiculous that
arches
he
and-
chose that to race.
Well, it had a Holden engine in it.
Oh, right.
so-
Okay.
He did. That's right. Yeah, it did
I'm
have an
surprised
Holden.
he didn't roll it over. Maybe he did roll it over. Anyway,
Maybe, yeah.
Sorry. So that car.
So I had a dream I was driving that car. So I didn't know what I was driving, obviously. Like I didn't identify it. But in my dream I was driving an A30. two things. I was driving on the wrong side of the road, but it was the correct side of the road. So I'm from the western suburbs of Melbourne. At that time, we were living in West Sunshine.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I was driving on the wrong side of the road. I remember the colour of the car, it was blue. And I would have been 3 or 4 having this dream.
Wow.
And I've been obsessed with cars since.
That bloody dream. It's cost you a lot of money.
It's cost me a lot of money. Yeah, indeed. And one day I'll get a real job and I can get over this dream.
Real job.
Yeah. So that started my lifelong love of cars. Mum said from that point on, I would point to cars when I was in the stroller or whatever. Good car, bad car, bad car, good car. Which
Okay.
also,
Your career was already...
It was really
preordained, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And when I was in primary school, I always wanted to be a newspaper journalist. So I think the ingredients were there, but I did not go down that road. This is not a direct road to what I am today.
Okay.
I took a very circuitous. I went very left field.
You're an accountant.
I modelled. I acted. I even live modelled. I was
Like on catwalks, on runways.
No, just for stuff.
Like Target catalogue.
But not.
Sorry, you said
No,
life
nothing.
modelled. That's
Yeah,
a
I
different-
also
Oh,
did.
life.
No, I
Like
also
no-
did life modelling as well.
okay.
Yeah.
Lights on.
Yes, there's.
And viewers, if you stick around tonight.
That's right. The After Dark version, you will see why. If you want to see something really funny, and stick around for a laugh. So no, the ingredients were there. I love cars, and I was been obsessed with cars. I mean, friends would come over, like family friends would come over, and I would just go and sit in their car for hours.
Yeah.
It was that level, and that got me into. I'm the youngest in the family, so my brother had friends of driving age by then, and one of them, Jimmy, would come over in his Beetle. So I sat in his 65 Beetle or 66 Beetle.
Cool.
And I come from a very my family car background is very dull. Like when I was born in a Vauxhall family, so we had a Vauxhall Velox, and by then we're talking early 70s. I was really embarrassed in 1972.
They were a very daggy car.
Super daggy car.
They were old before their time.
Yeah.
Very much so. And so I was being driven to in a Vauxhall Velox, and I just wish that we were in something more contemporary. I was so embarrassed.
You're hoping for a giant sinkhole to swallow.
That's right, because it was social death, that car,
Absolutely.
even to a 5 or 6 year old. And just to exacerbate that, when my mum got her license when I was 6, and she came home in a 1965 Vauxhall Viva. Like pretty much one of the worst cars ever.
It's better than a Velox, maybe a bit more contemporary, but still a boring little box.
Yeah, they were shit boxes.
Slab-sided.
Yeah.
Unreliable,
Yep.
terrible suspension.
Yep.
They were very narrow tracked as well.
They were.
And something that when the HB, that was the HA Viva, when the HB Viva / Tirana, the first Tirana was released, they made a big deal about it having a wide track and coil sprung rear suspension, because those cars were prone to tipping over. And I collect car magazines. I've got every single issue of Wheels ever, and most of Modern Motor and Motor Manual and Car Australia.
I know
and
where
UK
to come when I can't find an article.
and UK Car as well. And anyway, there was I think there was obviously it would have been late 63 or 64 issue of Modern Motor.
Yeah.
There's a picture. They rolled a Viva during the road test.
Right.
During a bit like the Mercedes and the Moose test, the
Moose-
first A class.
Yeah,
They rolled
yeah.
during the Moose test.
And a bit like Jed with the Kluger Car of the Year 2008. Hi, Jed, if you're listening to this. My first editor at Wheels. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead there.
Right.
Yes.
So these cars had a strong effect on you in that you didn't want the Vauxhalls.
No. What it did is that I would pretend I was driving, and my mates would sit there, and we'd do things that naughty kids would do in cars, like there might be a cigarette in the back of one or that sort of thing, just that sort of thing.
Let the handbrake off, see if you can roll it down.
Yeah, very much so. And so we had unremarkable cars. We had an XB Falcon in 75. Mum's Vauxhall was kaput by about 76. Right. And
it didn't last that long.
Yeah, and then my brother started getting cars. My brother was more daring. His first car was his first official car was a 180B, 72 180B, and that was kind of cool. That was exotic.
Exactly.
From that background.
It doesn't sound it, but
No,
but it kind
back
of
in the
was
day,
in
I
relation
remember,
to
yep.
that. It
Yeah,
was,
and he must.
Bright colours, independent rear suspension.
That's right.
Vinyl
Bit of a
roof,
race.
they
Yeah.
all- they all
It
had
wasn't
vinyl
as good.
roofs,
The
didn't they?
GLs had a vinyl.
I mean, it
roof.
was not a patch on the 1600, but it was built off the 1600.
That's
And
right.
they were independent rear end.
Yep.
They were.
Yeah,
They were very much.
certainly.
They were very much a BMW copy in terms of engineering.
Yep.
And which is not surprising for the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then talking about landmark cars as I was getting older. Then one day my brother came home. So just keeping in mind, these were the cars that I was used to. There was a RX2 in there as well.
This is your brother's.
This is my brother's, yeah.
Okay.
And then one day in 1981, my brother came home in an unexpected car, and that was an Aston Martin DB6.
Right. Okay. How did he
That's
manage
a hell
to
of a
procure
car.
one of those
That's a bit of a jump, right?
in the western suburbs?
That's
of
right.
Melbourne, especially?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that
How
stage,
much of drugs he's taking then?
Well, how much would you like? How much of drugs would you like?
He's selling to everybody then.
I'm half Italian, so I can get away with with the
I'm not.
with the stereotype.
I'm not,
no,
but
yeah,
it's my podcast, so whatever.
So whatever. Anyway, so it came over the DB6. He bought it cheap, and it was cheap for a reason. It had been
No, you
crashed and it was bogged up.
But
that-
still, a DB6. That's amazing.
And it wasn't. My brother was telling me at the time. I mean, I remember. He got yelled at from my parents. Why'd you bring home this car? You know, it's clearly. And it cost him. It was the price of a new Ford Fairmont. He'd started working.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
imagine if he hung on to that. If he hung on to that today, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Anyway.
what happened to that car? Did he not have it that long?
No, my brother's very shrewd. He sold it. He restored it. The 80s sports car market started booming, and he got enough money to start his own business. And my brother and my sister are quite well known in the Melbourne hospitality scene. They opened up their businesses. They went, they opened up cafes and restaurants such as Blue Train Cafe at South Bay, Joe's Garage, Automatic,
So the Aston-
Chocolate Buddha at Fed Square, Transit Taxi at Fed Square. That was all their ideas. So that set them up. But I was the black sheep of the family. For me, had to be cars.
Me too.
Yeah. So
So black.
when I was a kid, when I was still in primary school, in grade 5, I discovered car magazines when our car magazine loving teacher brought Wheels and Modern
Now
Motor.
that's an education.
That
getting
is
an
an
So
education.
it wasn't sort of Penthouse or Hustler or anything for you. It was the car man.
No, but there is a Penthouse connection coming straight up.
Okay,
Anyway,
stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that,
tuned,
folks.
stay tuned.
Yeah. So reading, I opened up a car magazine, and it was like that scene in The Sound of Music when they go from black and white to colour. That's what happened to my life. It was the June '78 issue of Modern Motor.
Yep.
And it was an earlier issue, August '77 issue of Wheels, which had the Japan special with a Mazda 323 and an XC Falcon and a Bonsai karate
Yes.
Japanese.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I've still got that
Yep.
issue. Yep. Anyway, so I fell in love with cars and motoring journalism right there, and that's for me. It just seemed like it was what I was going to do.
But not straight away.
But not straight away, no. And that informed my taste in cars. I always wanted to. I was always more interested in exotic cars, but not exotic cars. So for me, with that background of having quite mundane cars, I thought Japanese cars were exotic. I thought European cars were exotic, and Peter Robinson, the editor of Wheels, very much informed my taste. I wanted to buy a Golf. When I turned 18, as soon as I got my driver's license, I started looking for a Golf, and I bought a 1979 Volkswagen Golf GLS 5-door in silver. So it was one of the imported ones.
Yep.
From a family in the Yarra Valley, and that was my first car.
Great
Cool
first car.
It was a great first car. I blew up the engine maybe 7 or 8 months later when when one of the Welsh plug
Popped out.
Popped out.
Bit of a
and
coolant
the engine,
leak.
and then the engine just seized. That happened one night when I was out with my mates, but an education again.
Of course, yeah.
And then from there, I went to I bought the car that came the runner-up to the 1981 Wheels Car of the Year. So
Well,
that-
1981 Wheels Car of the Year is the W126S class.
correct, but
There
what
you
came
go.
I
second?
can't tell you what the runner-up was.
No.
81.
So
David might remember.
David might remember.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No,
No,
tell us.
gone.
No. There was a 5 in it, though, an Audi 5+5.
Oh,
The Audi
wow.
5-cylinder,
Okay.
5-speed manual.
Yeah.
That was my second car.
I'm pretty sure that we were the only market where they were called 5+5.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
I think that's true. It was based on the European Audi, what became the Audi 90, because it had
Yep.
the 5-cylinder engine, front-wheel drive. It was a, yeah.
I like Audi 90s. I've always had a soft spot for those.
Yeah.
Longitudinal engine, front drive.
They shouldn't work, but they do.
They shouldn't, but they do.
Very
They're
nose heavy.
good looking car.
Yeah. Yep.
Very
I was
sort
always
of
a bit of a fan of the 5E, which was even before that, sort of
Yes.
a bigger car.
What about a Fox?
Which
An
was
Audi Fox?
Audi Fox.
Well, that was a Passat and Drag, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
Or
And that-
actually, it was the other way around. It was more like the Passat was a down market because Audi, the original Audi 80, because that came out before the Passat.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah, just like the Audi 50 came out before the Polo.
that's right. I'm just reading that
Okay.
yesterday on Car Design
there you go.
Archives. I
Oh,
think.
there you go. One of my favourite cars. I drove one of those at an International Polo launch in 2014 2014, 13 maybe. Anyway, and they had all the previous Polos, and it was remarkable how NSU-esque that car felt.
Yeah.
Really?
I
Okay.
have owned an NSU. I had a
Yep.
Row 80 for 11 years, but I'm jumping ahead of myself.
That's a very rare beast.
It is a very rare beast.
Cycle back to that one.
Now, just going back to the penthouse, because everyone's dying to know.
Yeah.
what a
I
penthouse
want to know
connection
that
is.
connection.
I learned to drive in 3 cars. I learned to drive in my mum's Ford Escort, my sister's boyfriend's.
So this was post Viva. She got an Escort.
Yeah, that's right.
So
So in 1980, she got a Ford Escort. She got a 77 Escort,
Okay. So
Mark II Brenda, XL Auto. It was a POS.
Okay.
Slow.
It was a POS. It was just a piece of shit. Today Escort prices are berserk, but
Yeah.
and all that has to do with the Mark I and the Mexico and all that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
even Mark IIs are commanding stupid money.
Yep.
Anyway, this car was terrible. Mum often would go to work with other people, so I would take her car at 14 and drive it. So I learned to drive in Mum's Escort. My oldest, I'm the youngest of 3, so my sister, the middle child, her boyfriend used to drive a Mini K.
Yeah.
What did the K stand for, Ed?
Kangaroo.
Correct, thank you.
That's
Yep.
right.
I knew
The
you
last
know.
of the round-nosed minis.
That's
which
right,
Was
yep.
like
Yep.
sort of a little bit of a blend of some of the newer Clubman stuff, but the old front.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Clubman
And
door
that-
handles.
They're nice. They're
and-
in 1100s, I think.
Correct.
And with the little badge on the front quarter.
A little kangaroo, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a photo of one of those.
Yeah, we will. Okay. Well, you remember to do that. So a Mini K and the third car was an Alfa Romeo Alfetta, rear transaxle.
Lovely.
It was
Yes.
a 74 sedan. My brother bought that after he had sold the DB6 and set up his first restaurant.
Yep.
And so those 3 cars very much informed my driving style.
Okay.
And what a nice blend. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
all very different, and that's probably representative of your collection,
Very
which we'll
much
get
so.
to later. But you're not one-eyed. There's a whole lot of variety in what you like.
I'm a car slut. Is that what you're saying? I'm not slut shaming. I'm proud. Very proud. Anyway, when I got my driver, I learned to drive in those cars, but I had to get my driver's license, and my driving instructor drove a Stanza, and it was
Datsun.
a Datsun Stanza. Well, this was it was the last of the Datsun era one, so it was 81. It was manual, and it was horrendous. That
They
car.
weren't great.
They were not great.
They were not a 1600 successor by any
No,
stretch
no,
of the
they
imagination.
were-
They were meant to be,
Yeah.
but they weren't.
It felt like a Corona knockoff.
Yeah.
Of it was just it was
Very
wooden,
plasticky.
It was wooden to drive. It was uninspiring. It was dreadful. Anyway, when I was learning to drive, it was a young guy that was teaching me, and I don't know. I mean, he might have been in his late 20s, early 30s. Anyway, while I was driving, he must have been so bored with the Stanza that he would bring magazines. And one day he brought a Penthouse, and he was showing me porn. He was showing me, it was the issue where Madonna, the Madonna issue in Penthouse. So we're talking late-ish 85.
Right, okay.
And now that I look back, I mean, I was wondering what was going on in his mind to show me pornography while
I
I'm
think
driving.
there's a law against
You probably shouldn't combine that with driving. should you?
No.
When you're learning, not ideal.
No.
So he's showing you
Right.
Penthouse in 1985.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Yep.
I didn't take the bait. I could have had a long and loving relationship. I could have found my life partner then and there, but did not.
Okay.
No.
I was too keen to get my driver's license.
Right.
You were actually focused on the job at hand rather than the Penthouse.
That's
Well,
right.
it's
Yeah,
probably more important to you right at that time.
it was. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I've waited all my life. You remember this. In May 1978, I wrote a letter to Rupert Hamer, the Premier of Victoria at the time.
Yeah.
I wrote a letter to him saying,
Dear
Mr. Hamer, my name is Byron Mathioudakis and I love cars. I am wondering whether you will give me an exception and grant me a driver's license, please. I can reach the pedals of my mum's Vauxhall Viva. My brother has a Datsun 180B and I can also drive that, but I'd be happy driving a Mini.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong.
No.
Kindest regards, Byron. P.S. Here is a pen to help you make your mind up.
Did you get him a pen?
I
You
got
sent him
no.
a pen.
I sent him a pen. The
What
pen
sort of
I
pen?
wrote. The
Like
pen.
a plain
It was
pen?
a blue. It was a blue
bribe.
big pen.
It wasn't a good one from the newsagent. It was a crappy big.
I know it wasn't It wasn't even a kilometrico. It was
It's
like
not, what are those pens that people walk around with? What are they?
a fountain pen.
What do they call that brand that everyone loves? Not Cartier. You know, Mont Blanc. Or something.
Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
Mont Blanc. Yeah. By this stage, I was raised in Tottenham. I was a poor wog kid from Tottenham. I wasn't going to have a Mont Blanc.
I love that you sent him a big. That's
A big.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you get a
But,
reply?
but hey,
Did he write back?
that's a
Did he-
design masterpiece, by the way. Those big
It
pens.
is. It is, yeah.
Like a piece of industrial design.
It is. It's very simple.
Amazements.
Yeah.
Amazements.
So he didn't
Amazements,
write back.
yeah. He didn't write back. He just completely. And then I knew that I was never going to vote Liberal after that. Anyway,
That was the end of it.
that was the end of it. Yeah. Anyway, so
So you finally got your license.
I finally got my
Not long
license.
after this.
I had to wait. Obviously, 7 years from 78 to 1985.
Yes.
I was disillusioned with politicians. Got my Golf. Had my Golf for a couple of years. Made money on it because Golfs became.
So you
quite big.
repaired the Golf after the Motor Boulevard?
Yeah, yep. And sold it
Beautiful.
for. I remember I paid 4.4 and sold it for 5.8.
Oh,
That's good money back then.
And then I bought this Audi 5+5. I remember I paid 10.4 and sold it for 11 2 years later. So
Perfect.
Yeah. Yep. During that time, I also bought my first classic car, which was a 1956 Series 2 Morris Minor with the split screen.
Yep. Splitting.
And that, and I just love, and that probably harks back to the Austin A30, my dreams.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Was it blue?
It's similar.
No, it wasn't blue actually.
Okay.
It was thistle green maybe. Or it was
Okay.
that sort of.
Yep.
It was
They
a
had
light
some
green.
very pastel-y sort of
Pastel-y
colours, didn't they? The
greens
light
and-
lilac-y pinky
Yeah.
and the green and the blues.
The Morris Minor Million was lilac, wasn't it?
that's right.
Yeah, it was.
I think so. Yeah, in the photo. Yeah, I've seen that photo.
Anyway, so I went a bit off the rails when I was in a later high school. I thought, I want to be a journalist. I didn't even know that I could become a motoring journalist. It was a dream too far. Like it didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my sphere. And I was watching a lot of. It was the 80s. I was watching a lot of shows about advertising. And I thought I'm going to become an advertising copywriter. So I went to RMIT. I studied advertising.
Yep.
I graduated advertising. I went in the advertising industry, and
But you just wanted to do car ads.
well, it was profoundly not for me.
Yeah, okay.
Look, I've made many friends from advertising, and people work very hard, but it just wasn't for me. It didn't suit
It's
my
good to
personality.
recognise that. Not everyone does.
Yeah, so, and plus I was a queer kid growing up in the western suburbs in the late 80s during a time of AIDS, a lot of gay oppression, and I needed to come out and I needed to just find myself. And it was in my early 20s, so I moved to another country. I moved to Canada. I just picked a place randomly, went there. Yep.
Bang! I'm
Bang.
gonna go there.
Yeah, got myself a working permit, and that changed my life. Like it was a life-changing experience. If anyone's listening to this and they've got kids and they're talking about wanting to, maybe just travel, and let them do it.
Do it.
It saved my life.
Do it. Yeah.
Anyway, but that also exposed me to a lot of American cars and.
Did you
driving-
drive over there? Did you
Yes,
have
I had a
car?
Ford Taurus.
Oh, like old school Taurus.
Old school Taurus. So this was in 1990, 91, and a bit of 92. I was driving my landlord's 86 four-cylinder Taurus automatic. And that helped me form it was a great piece of automotive design from an American car perspective. The Ford Taurus changed.
Well, they were never big here.
Well, they never
all,
got. They
no.
never. Oh,
we
well,
never got those.
Yeah,
we got the later one.
We got
But
the Australian design,
Yeah.
ironically.
the roundy,
the
super
oval-
roundy,
the oval-
Yes.
Yeah, looks like
one
it's
that's
melted.
been left out in the sun a bit.
That
too
Taurus
long.
over there,
Yes,
was massive in a way that it's off our
Well, it
radar.
saved Ford. It's bacon. It saved the corporation. It was a lot. Ford were in trouble. It informed the look of the EA Falcon as well, and
Yeah.
And of course, the
Especially
Scorpio.
the early ones.
Yeah.
I actually hired one. You've reminded me. I hired one in Hawaii in 1983. So it would have been probably the similar shape you were driving.
It was a shape, but that may have been. It was probably before the Taurus, because Taurus came out in late '85. So that could have been the Taurus's baby brother, which was the Tempo, the Ford Tempo.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so it was probably that, but they were very similar. But
Very
the Taurus
similar shape.
but Taurus was the one that kind of saved Ford. It was the full size car.
Yep.
You know, it was in the heartland of American motoring. You know, a large family car, front wheel drive, aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Influenced also by the W126 and the W124, I've got to say.
Which we like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in my early to mid 90s now, I'm travelling a lot. I'm just doing what 20-year-olds, kids in their 20s do. I come back to Australia. I did a bit of acting, stage acting mainly.
Okay.
I realised it wasn't for me, but it was a great lesson.
Yeah, fun.
It was a lot of fun, but it wasn't for me. I realised I used to go clubbing a lot. I was quite a lot into the rave scene. I love music. Music for me is just...
Hence your T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Also, I mean, my T-shirt. Also, I mean, you know, AC/DC. Well, I mean, it can refer to a lot of things, right? So, including electric cars.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're back here. What were you driving back here?
So
at
that was
time?
probably the car that I bought my favourite car ever during that time, and I still have that car today. I still have an example of that car today. Unfortunately, it was written off 10 years after I bought it, so I bought another one, and that was a 1979 Peugeot 504.
Oh yeah, we like a 504.
Oh.
Hallowed car.
Yeah.
A very and worldwide well-respected
Absolutely.
car.
Look, I think if you think about what a car needs to do and whether it fits its brief, I think few cars in the history of cars fit their brief better than the family sedan brief than a 504. I mean, it's got great engineering. It was launched in '68 in France, and you know, 4 disc brakes were available in the upper end models. We got them standard in Australia.
Yep.
Independent
And they're
suspension.
1.8 litre engines initially, and then they went to 2 litre.
That's right. So there were development of the engines in the 404. I always thought those cars were a bit fugly, to be honest with you. Like the 404 was beautiful, the Pininfarina design.
Yeah, with the fins and stuff. Yeah.
The 504 looked like a bit like a Capella that an elephant had sat like, you know, on the boot and just kind of bent it a bit.
Sort of the boot went down and then down again. Yeah.
I'll never look at them the same.
But you know,
I thought that, but
like
they're
that
handsome.
Peugeot
They're a
they
handsome
are,
car.
yeah. And the wagons were beautiful. Gee, French car makers can do wagons, can't they?
They can, yeah, absolutely.
Like
Spacious.
extending the wheelbase, putting larger rear doors.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know,
And those wagons, were they 7 or 8 seater?
both. So you can get a kind of
I remember our neighbours down the street here having one when I was a kid, and I think it was an 8. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
there being 3 back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 in the front, like 3, 3 and 2,
Yeah.
Which for a wagon is kind of like, what?
the familial. But
Yeah,
you know, I'm sure there are people watching this who will know more about you know, the ins and outs of that. But yeah, great cars, great ground clearance. Look, these cars are sturdy, a great ride, like a brilliant
Oh, the ride was fantastic.
They were
comfortable seats, beautiful seat upholstery.
And
probably one of the best seats you could get in a production car.
consequently, in Australia, they were assembled here, I'm pretty sure.
They were,
yep.
In Heidelberg,
In Heidelberg.
like alongside Renault. And they earned a real reputation here for just eating up country miles. And a lot of country folk loved Peugeots, and they became sort of Peugeot families, you know, just one after the next, because they were so rugged and comfortable.
Very much so. And, you know, they're known as the taxi of Africa.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them actually ended up in Africa because they had the robustness and the durability to put up that good ground clearance. Something that occurred to me only recently, in the 90s, I could always find my car in car parks because it was taller than the streetscape of cars.
Okay, yep.
It was pre-SUV era.
Yep.
And
They were quite high.
They were.
Like
they are.
ground
They stay-
clearance
yeah.
on a 504 is decent.
And I realised that, in a way, it's like a four-door SUV today. And in
like
that
an
time,
Outback.
big,
It's a Peugeot Outback.
Oh my God, you're so right there, Mavis. So I would, and you know, my friends all loved them, and most of my friends had regular cars, and they said, "Oh, why'd you buy this old piece of crap?" And because I only paid $1,900 for that car, and
you just handed them keys and said, "Drive it."
and ride it, and everyone fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I could live out of that car until I became a motoring journalist in 1997 when I turned 30.
Yeah.
That was my car, and it was it was perfect. Like my sister and brother both had Honda Preludes with forward steering.
All the wedgie Mark III.
Yeah, Mark III.
Yep.
At the time, they bought new. And the car was almost twice as tall as
Well,
those
they
cars.
were very sleek.
Very
they were
low.
low.
I do believe the world's lowest front engine body.
That's right. Yep.
In the
Engine canted over the allow for the space.
So in that time, I also had a Renault Virage. I had for a slab of beer. I bought a stolen and never reported Renault 17, which I could never register, and I had that for a couple of years. And thought, why did I buy
garden
this?
ornament?
It was like garden ornament. And then I sold it to someone who had another 17.
Okay.
Actually, I gave it away to him. So
ill-gotten gains are best handed on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't want that connected to me. What else did I have? My Morris Minor was still around that before it rusted, and I had a Citroen ID19.
Oh, nice.
The Continental and General built one. So they were assembled in Australia for a short time in the early '60s, and I loved it.
I've never driven one, and I've always wanted to drive one of those.
This DS was so good to drive, but it was a rust bucket. And it eventually snapped into on a hoist one day, like years later, and it became a dono car. And then when I turned 40, my brother and sister pitched in and bought a ID19 for me. And
why didn't I get that at 40?
And I
got nothing.
That's because you're not 40 yet, babe.
No, I am. But I didn't get that.
No, you didn't get that. So anyway, but that car, that was a much tidier car than my car, but it didn't drive as well as my original, so it didn't last. Because for me, a car has to drive. It has to ride or drive in a way that brings joy.
That's right. Exactly right.
And
sometimes, and just on that topic, sometimes that's unexpected, and sometimes it's the other way. Sometimes you go hunting for a really good something, and you finally get it, and you go,
Yep, absolutely.
or something you've driven that you've always put on a pedestal, and then you finally drive it and go, But the flip side is beautiful when you get something, you go, whatever, and you spend half an hour in something and go, this is amazing.
Yep.
And I've bought so many of my cars I have now, because of that. Like cars I did not expect to love, and you just end up going,
Yep. And the 504 certainly fell into that category as well. Probably more so than the other car. One that got away from me was a Volvo Amazon, a 122.
Oh, yes, I like them.
It did that, but I hesitated and then just got busy and he went. So that's
for now.
For now, exactly. So my advice for our viewers and listeners is, if something brings you joy,
doesn't matter. Do it. Get it.
Yep. So
you had the ID. Well, what was coming next? And the 504.
The 504, and then it all came to an abrupt halt when, after years of being a barman and an actor and modelling, and I was on a TV show.
What was the show?
It was a short-lived TV show that the Seven Network, the Reg Grundy organisation. It was a game show that they put up against Burke's Backyard on a Friday night. This was in early 1996.
What was it called?
It only went for 8 episodes. Okay. It was called Talking Telephone Numbers. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up, you fucking Wagnalls.
I've never heard of
That's right.
show.
No, and nor did anyone else. It bombed. Yeah. But I got paid. One of my best friends who is now in BABA, she has been in BABA for 2 decades. Yeah. She does Frida. She at that stage she was at the VCA, and they went. The Seven Network went around the corner to the VCA, and they wanted 25 guys, 25 girls to be as background singers, and occasional actors on this show, on this game show. That it was like an improvisation show.
Okay,
it was a bit like
probably a bit ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was. It was very much so, because it was
like Thank God You're Here.
Yeah, because that came a lot later.
Yeah, so it had improvisation, and it reminded me of theatre sports when I was in high school. Yeah, it was that sort of thing. Anyway, bombed, but they couldn't find. I can't sing. But
that's not what I would say, because before we hit the record button, you and I were singing.
Okay, thank you. I'm just fishing for compliments. I actually can't sing. Well, I'm certainly not trained. I went with Jackie to her audition, and they said, "Oh, sir, would you?" They didn't say sir. I said, "Hey, you scrappy piece of man meat, are you interested in are you here to audition? And Jackie, like being cocky, she's my fag hag, so she goes, oh yeah, he's here. Yeah. And I'm going, Jackie, no. And she goes, and they turned to me and said, are you a baritone or a tenor? And I
sort of bit of both. You know?
I actually didn't know the difference. That's how dumb I am. And I went, baritone? I went, great, we've got no baritones. You're hired. Here's a contract. Rich grant your contract, sign away, and we'll get you to occasionally do solos, but sing in a choir and whatever else
and
is
you're
weird.
thinking,
And
okay, solos, back out.
So, and the first few episodes were fine. It was just more of a group, and we'd be singing songs on the air, and I'd be miming like
camera 3
in a baritone style.
Yeah, in baritone style. I'd be like, we were singing Age of Aquarius. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and I'm going. And the camera was just right there, and the people around me knew I wasn't singing. They could tell, but they were good. They were the support, and the camera always stopped on me because they just put me in a position where the camera would stop on me and then and linger on me and then go back around and do, it was just because of my height.
So no pressure.
And are you in the midst of that, just going, how the hell do I get into these?
No, and how the hell to get out of it? Because then one day the producer said, "Look, we need you to do a solo with someone," and I would have been sued anyway. Luckily, that day I faked a frog in the throat, so they said, "Okay, we'll do it the following week," and then it got axed. So that was the end of my career.
Oh, thank God for that.
So how much did that cost you to get that show axed?
I know. I had to do some very depraved, unspeakable acts of fun. So, well, the 504 was good for that because it was a lot of room. And then one day, I used to travel a lot, and I used to live in Canada, so I'd go visit my friends in Canada, and I lived in the UK. And one day I hired a Fiat Cinquecento. This is in the mid-90s, a Polish-built square.
Yep.
It was like a Daihatsu Handy style car.
Yes, yeah.
And I thought...
Is that like a Nicky? Is that what we got as the Nicky?
No, that was the successor to the Nicky.
Okay.
The Nicky was a 126P. This was called the Cinquecento.
Okay.
It wasn't even called the 500. It was called the Cinquecento.
Okay.
Like Cinquecento, like...
Yeah, big one.
Yep. Mm-hmm. This car here, I thought, you know what? I'm going to write a review on this car, and I'm going to... become a motoring journalist. It just occurred to me. Like it was like in 1995.
How hard can it be?
How hard could it be? That's right. I thought I'm going to just try. Like I'm old now. I'm almost 30. I have to do something in my life.
Sort yourself out.
I know. I was just going to end up. Otherwise, I was going to end up on the scrap heap. Sitting on the shelf there with all the other long-haired girls, ponytails, and Sally, tall and sad, or whatever they're called. Anyway, I did that, and then I thought, well, maybe I should do something that Australian. Publications, because this car wasn't even available in Australia. No. At that stage, Mum, we bought. My brother and sister had money. I had no money, but we bought her a Peugeot 306, a brand new XT
I like those.
automatic.
I really like them.
Yeah, and it was, and I wrote a fake review. And then I started shopping it around. I wasn't getting anywhere. Like I didn't send it to Wheels or Modern Motor or Car Australia at that time, or whatever. But there was an ad that appeared in the Australian in the automotive business that a friend of mine was reading, and he alerted me to it, and I sent that review, and it was to replace Alastair Doak, who is now the Mazda product planner. He's pretty much he pretty much runs a shop there, him and Vinesh. But anyway, he used to work there, and he got a job at Drive. And so his job as an editor was being advertised. So I just went for this job. And and John Mellor read the review, then said, hang on, this guy's got no experience, but I like his chutzpah, like his sass. He brought me in for a trial, realised that I had no writing experience other than being the copywriting stuff that I did. Yeah. And put me to work straight away, threw me in the deep end, got all the other senior motoring journalists to pretty much put me through a cadet program of learning. And so that was a 24 broadsheet page lift out section in the Australian every Thursday called Automotive Business. And I used to have these dials in the road test. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, like good, bad.
No, dials were like what the power and the torque and the fuel consumption figures were in the shape of a instrumentation. They had these drawings, line drawings of cars. And I was just.
I remember the line drawings.
And they got me just being the dog's body there and the photo editor and all that sort of stuff.
You would have loved it.
I couldn't believe, and I got paid a pittance, and I got treated like a cadet journalist would at 20, but I was 30. and I was given a 3-month trial, and I still write for Go Auto
Wow.
pretty much to this day.
That's fantastic.
So
So
they liked your
that's-
work. They liked your work.
They like my work. Yeah, they
Yeah,
like me. They
yeah.
really like me. Sally.
I actually have a number of those lift outs at home with the line drawings. They were great because they were so detailed, and then they had all the descriptions about the various aspects of the car. They were
That's
like a
right.
full page.
Yeah.
So
And-
I'm going to get some copied and. Statute of limitations expired yet?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Was it 50?
Should I
years?
say that?
Or was it
No.
more?
No, I'm sure we'll be fine. I think John would be
Got
chuffed.
some very cool NSX ones. And
Yeah, that's right. And it was during that heyday of Honda sports cars, because I think there was also the Del Sol, the CRX,
Yep.
Correct.
done there, and the Prelude and the Integra. And
Now take us
whatnot.
through. Obviously, we said at the start you write for Wheels and Motor, and freelanced in numerous high-profile publications. In terms of your collection of cars, though, because that's really interesting. I love that.
Okay.
Because you're not someone you're a bit like me. You're not quite so one-eyed.
It shocks me how similar you and I are in our taste of cars. Like,
So take us through the collection.
you're like a
and-
much younger, better-looking version of me.
I think we need Byron back again.
Ah,
Very good
Look,
for
look,
my...
I'll get my age. Look, your people can talk to my people. We'll see.
Very good for my
That's how it works.
self-esteem.
That's how
Pete.
it works.
So tell us about your current collection of cars.
Okay.
Now, I believe there's kind of like 16 of them.
There's kind of like 16.
Okay.
Let's
My
go
husband's
through that.
And no
listening.
Renault 16.
That's if my husband's listening. I've got a couple cars.
Couple?
Yeah, there's a couple.
No, he's good. I married a scientist too.
I just say hard to say. You're like, how many have you got? Oh,
yeah.
hard to say.
They come and they go.
They go. That's right. And I get these press cars all the time. And I
Yeah,
get confused.
Yeah.
So
This 30-year-old press car.
That's right. 30. My oldest car is 60. It's a 59 model.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay,
63.
yes.
I've got
Yeah,
a 63-year-old car.
Okay.
Thank you.
There you
Getting
go.
on.
So I'll rattle through these fairly quickly.
Okay.
What order do you do them in? Because I always have to do
Chronological.
mine oldest to
Yeah,
youngest.
chronological.
That's the only way I can remember
The
them.
word's chronological.
Chronological.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yep.
So
Good
chronological.
I'm not a journalist, all right?
So
No, you're not.
so
See, he's good for my self-esteem. You're shit for my self-esteem.
So what have I got? Okay, so
Okay.
last year, this is chronological in the year made rather than purchased.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So last year, I found a Morris Minor 1000, 59 Morris Minor 1000.
Which is not a split screen.
No,
That's a
it's
single
the
screen.
big screen.
Yep.
Highlight big screen.
Yep.
Yep.
That's right, with a 1000cc engine, and I've wanted one ever since my old Morris Series 2 minor
years
carked
ago.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it. That. So I purchased that last year. It was in Tasmania from a very lovely family that had bought a older restoration, and they just maintained it.
Yeah.
And it was a good price. They were really happy to sell it to me because they saw that it was going to a loving family. So,
Yeah.
yep, Morris Minor.
Done.
What a car. Like 1948 design.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still great to drive. A really good car to learn to drive in if you really want a raw driving experience.
Yeah.
You know,
No synchro on first.
no synchro on first. Terrible brakes, although good for what they are. Drum
yeah.
brakes all around. Concentration, but also just a visceral experience in terms of...
Absolutely. We've
Yeah,
talked
wheel
about that
driving.
before.
Yeah,
about
wheel driving.
That you're driving a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my second car is a 1964 Morris 1100 that I bought off the original family.
Much more modern.
Much more modern, like a huge change.
Floats on fluid.
Is it
does,
floats
yep.
on fluid?
It is,
Yeah,
it floats
it
on
is,
fluid,
yeah.
so it's got...
Elastic.
Yep. This car here, I've always... That's the first of the Wheels Car of the Year cars I've owned. Now, I've done a few Wheels Car of the Year judging, like more than a decade's worth, and I've owned probably more than a decade's worth of Wheels Car of the Year ones. So that's my first Wheels Car of the Year car. Mine's a 64. It's an early one. It's porcelain green.
Bench front seat?
Bench front seats, made in Australia. It was slightly different to the UK one. Britain's best-selling car in the 60s. It was designed by Pininfarina, and controversially, I think it's the thinking person's Mini.
They're a very,
Which is ironic because I neither think and I'm barely a person. But,
they're a very pretty car.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. And
they-
four-door.
the
They're
proportions
practical
were
compared to a
lovely.
Mini.
And there was a
Yeah.
Innocenti version, you may know.
There was.
So, I mean, the car was...
And there was an
in
S
terms
version too.
There
Yeah,
is, yes.
1275 motor.
Yep.
With the Cooper S.
Yeah.
So that car, that's the car I've owned the longest. I bought that in 2001 from the granddaughter of the original owner, and it's an original car.
Beautiful.
It's just getting some restoration, some minor restoration work again.
bobs.
Bits and bobs, that's right, yeah. But almost all my cars are on the road, including this one. So
that's good. That's how it should be.
Yeah. Then we go from there. We go to all the way to 1974, and I have a Volkswagen Superbug L.
Oh, that's
1303.
Your base model.
1600 1303, correct?
Superbug, big elephant foot tail.
Yeah,
lights.
elephant. Yep,
one.
yep.
What colour's that?
Mine
Plastic
is
dash.
martini olive.
Oh yeah, I like
Best
that colour.
It is
Like that
one of
colour.
the best colours, and it's got
Yeah.
the standard red vinyl interior.
Ooh.
So it's a big gauche. Like it's got this martini olive. It's a South Australian car, but built in Clayton.
Yep. That's
It's my
cool.
second Beetle. My first one got written off, and I paid $1,000 for it in 2007. My first Beetle. That was a '73 Superbug L because my parents opened up a pizza shop, one of the first in the western suburbs, in 1974. And as a 6-year-old, I'd go wandering by myself, and there was a Volkswagen dealer up the road, and I would go in
You
there.
just stare through
And I
the
would
window.
stare at the new Passats, and I would stare at the Beetles, and I just fell in love.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how things that happen to you and they just stay with you?
Well, I've made-
Esquire Motors.
I've made all this point many times before, but the cars I've chased down or inadvertently been attracted to as an adult, they all had an effect as a kid. They
that's
were
right.
all. My first memory of them was when I was little, going, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
You know,
very
same
much so.
thing.
So the Superbug, that
Beetle.
model Superbug actually had quite a short run too, didn't it? Because they actually went back to the flat screen.
They did.
To finish them off sort of 75, 76.
That's right,
That sort of time.
And it
They
was-
were expensive to produce, I think, the McPherson Strut front end.
Yeah. Fun fact: I think that McPherson Strut front end was the one that was used in the 924.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
You got a
I
Porsche.
did not know that.
I got a Porsche.
DNA of it.
Yeah.
So this, I love this Beetle, and it's slightly worked. The previous owner worked it, so it's absolutely stock as a rock outside.
Yeah.
But
A little bit
it's
warm in the
really
motor.
fast. Like it's really fast. It drives. I remember when I was young, when my brother's career was taking off in hospitality, he bought a 911S 2.4, and it's not as fast as that. That was one of the fastest production cars in the world at this time, but it has a similar kind of
feel.
Okay,
Wow.
it takes off. Anyway, also 74 model. Okay, from there I am going to my. I'm forgetting cars, so I might have to jump back.
Okay.
My 79 504.
Lovely car.
This particular car is a replacement to my old nutmeg brown one.
Yeah.
This
I know
one
the
is
colour.
a beigey yellow one. Otherwise identical, and this is a car I'm going to keep for life.
Yeah.
A 504. I need to have a 504 in my life.
Yep.
If our listeners and viewers are not familiar with 504s, and you love cars, it really is a car that can reset your opinion on cars, because it's old yet modern in its own way, in the way it
They were very,
delivers.
very ahead of their time, the way they
They
drove,
were.
and still very affordable. Like yes,
Yes.
they've gone up, but French cars, like the old Renaults I'm into and the Peugeots, they haven't gone up anywhere near as much as other stuff. And my friends all joke, like everything's gone up during COVID and everything's crazy, except Renaults and Peugeots. It's like. So there's kind of a truth to that, but
And great news for us.
Hot tip.
exactly.
Go and find
Exactly.
a 504 while you
Find
can.
yourself a good 504
Yeah.
for, I don't know, what are they, 10 grand at the moment?
Not
Or
even.
8
You
grand?
could probably get a good, a reasonable one for 6
Yeah.
or 7,
Yeah.
maybe
It's-
5.
And they were the same money like 15 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, and they're better than the 505. Although the 505 is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I still like a 505, but more 80s plastic fantastic, not as much old school build.
Yeah.
But still a very comfortable touring car.
At the 2005 Holden Viva launch, which is one of the worst cars I've ever
Yes.
Okay.
driven, one of the chief Holden's chief engineers was there, and he was visibly embarrassed to be there, as everyone was there at Holden.
Well, it wasn't a Holden, it was a Daewoo that was
Yeah, it was the day
badly built and rebadged.
That's
and-
right. It was
yeah.
David Lassetti. Denny Mooney, who was the MD of Holden at the time, had a stake in Daewoo, and I think that was part of the reason why they abandoned the Opel product.
Yeah.
Anyway, he told me that he was just not wanting to talk about this car that he was embarrassed about. And he asked me what I had, and I said I had a 504. And he goes, I used to work at Borg Water. We deal out the 3-speed automatic
The
transmission
transmission.
in the 1970s for the 504 in Australia, and only for Australia. The reason why is because the French one wasn't durable enough for towing. And they also reduce the final drive ratio in the 4-speed manual. So they always seem like they're revving too high when they're on the open road. And they do rev high, but that was in order to be able to tow.
Okay.
Which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But conversely, the 4-speed gearbox in that, the manual 4-speed gearbox is one of the sweetest gearboxes you'll ever experience in any car.
Wow.
Yep. Anyway,
there you go. Tidbit. Very interesting tidbit.
Yeah, I'm good with tidbits.
Good for that.
Good for tidbits, yeah. So moving on quickly, I have a 1981 VH Commodore, my only Commodore I've ever owned. A VH base car, SL 2.8 4-speed manual. It comes from Armidale in New South Wales, so it's a desert car.
Yep.
I bought it off essentially the first owner. It's only got 190,000 Ks. Straight, it's Manet blue, so it's that copper blue.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yep.
And it's not as good to drive as the 504.
Okay.
It's not.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but it has. I love the Germanness of it. I love the opalness of that car.
That's
It is really opal in there.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big stretch, was it?
No,
From
that-
the roots.
This is a vinyl interior base car with a 4-speed manual. That gearbox is just crap. It is the worst gearbox. It's bulky and it's inaccurate
But ironically, that's a car that has gone up a lot in the last few years. The 504 is here, the Commodore is here.
it's tripled in value since I bought it.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're listening from Shannon's, it's quintupled in value.
That's right.
Was that gearbox a Filipino gearbox?
Is it called the M80 gearbox? M82? I don't know. It was I don't know, but Imelda Marcos's shoes would be more.
I learned
comfort.
to drive. One of the cars I learned to drive in was an '81 Sunbird, which reverses up next to
the
first.
left.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a
same
misfire engine.
gearbox, I think.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
And that gear, when it was cold, you could miss whole changes of traffic lights trying to find a gear.
It's the same gearbox.
It's appalling.
But
Absolutely appalling.
But the design of that car is beautiful. I really like GM product design of the 70s, and that car, to me, it's barely any. To me, it reminds me of the original T car Gemini.
Yep.
And it's a very handsome car.
They are handsome.
right.
Yeah,
And that 2.8 is really sweet. That engine basically is an EH engine.
That's right. That's right.
And it's torquey, it's smooth, it's gutless, but it's torquey. And I like it. It's a bit of Australiana. Anyway, moving on from that.
Nice.
Then we go. I have a 1981 Volkswagen T3 Transporter, a base car, one owner. Well, I'm the second owner. Me and my mate Dean bought this together, but it's our car. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
One owner, Canberra car. It's
The new combi.
Great.
It's
It's
the
like a
new
great. Yep. It reminds me of the Stasi cars that you watch from East Berlin films from the 80s. It's just a square inch white van.
Yeah.
Just van. I love it.
And
It is-
Volkswagen, if there's one thing they do well, it's vans.
Yep.
You know,
That's right.
and of course, starting with the combi split screens and the later bay windows and everything. But even that next shape, it was nowhere near as loved as the original combi shape. But they do a van very well, and even the current multivan, they do all-wheel drive multivan diesels that can accommodate 8-9 people like nothing else.
Yeah. Do you have an opinion on these cars?
Oh, I love them. Yeah, yours would be air cooled.
Yes, it's the last vehicle. Well done.
Thank you.
If you're listening to this in America, it's a Vanagon. I drive a Volkswagen Vanagon.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
They were the one to get the water cooled engines had problems with head studs.
Well, it
and
was
things like
designed to have.
That's right.
Yeah, or rather, it just wasn't ready for it. Maybe. Yeah. Anyway.
And you probably get us by all your friends when they're moving house. Can we borrow the?
It's good. It's doing that duty next week. So it's a really straight car. It was owned by I bought it off a 91-year-old Finn who bought it new and he replaced his
That's
59 combi. When he bought an 80.
He didn't have that in the garage.
No, he didn't. Sadly, no. Can you imagine?
Keep that one. Keep the wrong one.
Yeah. But he just looked after it. He looked after it, and it's a white car with a brown vinyl, perforated vinyl interior.
Lovely.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's boggo. Space.
Yeah.
Love it.
Fantastic.
Have you ever driven one of those cars?
many
Not for
moons
a long
ago.
time. Yeah, I did a long time ago.
Well, I Mitsubishi cordially invite you to drive this car.
You are
a
on.
lovely segue.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
no.
do that.
Sadly, I don't have a Mitsubishi Cordia. Do you remember the ad for that? Cordia.
Cordia.
Don't you
Yep,
think
yep.
it's a... We should
Should
have
have
sung-
Laura Branigan.
Yeah, we might get hit by
Cordy,
YouTube.
Cordia.
We can't sing the actual song because YouTube will demonetize us. Because, you know, the thousands of dollars you
But
make.
it was a very close to the real song, that Cordia.
Very
Very
It was
close.
the brochure had a big sheepdog in the back of the Cordia
It
hatch,
did.
like sitting.
Yeah. Like the Dulux dog.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Dulux
that's right.
dog.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
Old
That's
English
right.
sheepdog.
So from there...
Jeez, we know some shit.
we know, and lucky us.
Yep.
Okay, next car is a late 85 Honda Accord, third generation.
Yes.
Yep.
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 It's the base car.
You like a base car?
I love base car.
Byron.
This one, it's
Base car Byron.
EX.
That's
base
what
car.
we'll
Yeah,
call
so
you.
they call me. Yeah,
It's just
down
among
in the
other things.
basement.
Yep.
Yeah.
EX.
EX.
Yep.
EX
Carburetor.
carbureted. Yeah, 1.8.
And that
Yes.
Yep.
hatch that you want.
Yeah, it's
So
the wedge with a head
very
pop-up
lights.
very sleek looking. They were classy.
You know what? They're really cool.
Yep.
I
Lovely
like
looking
it.
things.
Yeah. So that car is the only car that I don't have registered as yet. So that's a
Work in progress.
work in progress. That's right. But you know, it's not the only Honda I own, which leads me to my next car, which is a February 1989 built Melbourne Blue Honda Prelude SI four-wheel steering automatic.
Superb.
Yep.
That's the golden era of Honda, right
that
there.
is right there. That
They
car.
were
just-
really at their peak there, I think.
My car, it's a little dog-eared in that, like it's it's not even dog-eared. It's a little bit faded here or there, but it hasn't been in a crash or anything. Like it's completely straight. So like it's been in a crash. Everything just pops up and
Yep.
down. Everything is.
Starts every time you
Yep.
turn the key.
Yep. It's
all
just
those things.
They just
beautiful.
work those Hondas. They're
Yeah, they do.
fantastic.
The only thing I need is a carpet bit in the driver's side. You know, where the speaker and the carpet in the
Oh,
door
yes,
card.
yep, on the door.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I reckon I can take that to a.
Right.
Yeah,
Someone who knows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Someone who knows.
So I've got a lot of cars from 89 to 90. So
Yep.
there's about 5 here.
Okay.
So I'm going to...
Okay.
The next one is a Fiat 126P, as you know, as the FSM Nicky.
You've got one of those.
I got one of those.
Oh,
Has
that's
a
cool.
Nicky.
27,000 kilometres. It is
fresh.
It is fresh. It had a little bit of rust cut out, only a little bit of rust. The car is at the moment at my mechanic's who cut his teeth working on those cars. Weird thing to cut his teeth on, but and he said that his wife and him love it. Like and for my mechanic to say that it's an original car. I haven't actually driven this car yet.
But
Okay.
you will like it when you do.
I do, so-
They're like a little lawnmower.
Yeah.
And I bought that car because a mate of mine called me up one day and said, "Hey Byron, we've got a car. My next door neighbour's got a car. I don't know what it is, but he just wants it to go to good home." And I said, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
And he goes, "You don't know what it is?" I said, "I don't care. I'll take it." And he goes, and then I said, "So what is it?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know. Is it like a Volkswagen?" And I went, "Oh, I've got a Volkswagen." Okay. And I went around and it was a Fiat 126P. So
Wow.
with
I've never bought a
27,000
car quite like that before. I've bought a lot of cars, but not quite like I'll take it.
So
with
Polish
not knowing
built.
what it is.
Polish built, yep.
Yep.
And fun fact, today's Fiat 500s come from there, and the new Fiat 500e we're getting next year, the electric.
Yeah,
It is from the same factory.
Same factory.
Wow,
there you
that's
go.
cool.
Yeah, yep.
I test drove one of those brand new because I thought this is a bit of me, and it broke down on the test drive. I walked back to the dealership.
What happened to it?
I think the accelerator cable popped off the carburetor, but you know, I thought, hey, I'm not going to get my hands dirty. It's not my problem.
No,
so
no problem.
I
Walk
literally
back.
walked back to the thing and said, "Your car's parked down the other end of Commercial Road." It stopped.
Soft.
Yeah,
Okay, maybe it's that
Okay.
very car. Was it a white one?
It wasn't one.
I think a lot of them, they were either white or red.
Yes.
Yes.
Weren't they,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
Fiats?
And then they went this corrosive, this
Fast colour.
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
What else is from that era?
Does it have a sunroof?
1990.
Some
No,
of
it
them have
doesn't have-
sunroofs.
No, this one doesn't
Yeah.
have a sunroof.
A lot of them.
Anyway,
It's quite popular to have a sunroof.
Very excited about getting this car back soon. So
Excellent.
I have a 1990 Mazda MX-5,
Yes.
Mariner
Mariner
Blue,
Blue.
Yes.
1.6. It's non-power steered.
Yep.
No,
Which
the
makes it
original,
better.
none of them had it early on.
I think they became a...
You couldn't get the very first batch 8990. It was no
okay.
power
Yeah,
steering.
okay. So no power steering, but it has an optional aircon which still works. That car
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah,
It's
love it.
great.
Love
Yeah. So I know what to say. Everyone else on the MX-5 is it's
MX-5.
just I feel that it's one of the greatest cars ever.
Best-selling sports car in the
Absolutely,
world. I think
in
they
the world.
can claim
I think
that
a lot of people think that's the same
title.
way.
Yeah, you're not alone.
And they want them.
yeah. And I always wanted a Marin, a blue one, and I got one. I hung out for my regret is one day there was I think I bought about 60 yellow ones. Like
that was
Malibu
later.
Gold.
That was the Clubman. That was later.
Yeah, but I missed out on that one. I like one, but I'm glad I didn't buy it because I wouldn't have bought my Marin, the blue car.
That's right. All roads lead to what you should end up.
That's
with.
right.
Eventually.
Yep. I have a 1990 Citroen BX.
Oh, there's a BX. I like BXs.
It's,
they're very plasticky, but they're cool in a very 80s way.
Very 80s. So mine's a Series 2, so it's obviously 90. It's actually a 91 build, but I say it's a 90.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 91 build. It's a British import. So it's the carbureted one we never got in Australia. It's a TZS, not a TZI.
Right.
And
So have I seen that car in Wheels magazine?
you have seen that car in Wheels.
So,
You've probably seen my Prelude in Wheels
and your Beetle.
and the Beetle and the MX-5.
Oh, wow, they're all been in
They're all
Wheels.
been in Wheels, because once you work there, you
That's
kind
right.
of, you get roped in for
Nostalgia pieces.
or more like they go, oh shit, we need something.
See, I think I messaged you after I saw the Beetle and thought this has to be yours.
Yep.
So they
but
said
I didn't after the BX. I didn't know the BX was yours.
Yeah,
so
the
there
BX
you
is
go.
mine. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's a green, it's a bottle green car. It's great. Love it. It's a car that converts people to French cars when they ride it, and it's automatic, and it's got a ZF 4-speed auto, and it works really well. And the suspension, it's softly sprung. It works like a proper Citroen.
I think we need to have a drive day where David and I just come and drive some of these.
Yes, as I said,
That
your Mitsubishi
I would
cordially
love to
invited.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on.
Moving on. Yeah.
What else do I have?
I've lost count now. I've
I've
run out.
Forget about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think we're up to 3. if Jim's watching and listening, my third car is. Okay, what else is there?
Anything else from the early 90s?
No, I don't think so. But I might go back. I feel like I'm forgetting a car. But anyway, I really feel like I'm forgetting a couple of cars because that happens. I have a 1997 Citroen Xantia.
Oh, I like them
VSX
too.
2-litre.
That's the top of the line VSX,
Yep.
wasn't it?
Manual. This one's a manual. And I bought that. That's the most recent car I bought. I bought it up in rural Victoria. It was owned by someone in the Citroen Car Club up there.
Yeah,
and
right.
it's really been looked after.
Yeah.
It's a country car, and it's
They
great.
had a model called the Activa that had that suspension that kept you flat going around corners.
Yep. Fun
And
fact.
I remember,
Yes.
just very quickly, I remember another motoring-esque journalist who we know. I worked with him at the time, and I said, "What did you think of the Citroen on the weekend?" And he said, "Well, put it this way: I took a corner at 170, and my wife didn't stop talking." So he was really impressed with how flat it cornered, and I was like, "Respect."
I wonder who that is.
Yeah.
I'll fill you in after.
The
Yeah,
wagon
okay.
was a very handsome thing too.
Yes.
The Xantia wagon.
I'm a wagon man.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
I think
like
most cars look best in wagon,
Yep.
or look better in wagon as wagons.
Yeah, a lot do.
Like a W124, for instance.
Great
Or a
wagon.
123.
Well, the Liberty that I've just picked up recently, that was a
absolutely.
wagon, beautiful as a sedan, a bit dorky.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, very much so. So
Xantia.
the Xantia, and then moving from the Xantia, I have I reckon I've forgotten some cars because that's not 16
We'll invite
cars.
you back and come back.
Yeah, right.
Back.
Yeah, maybe invite me back. And then I have I have a 1996 Toyota Paseo.
Oh, Paseo!
Yes,
Which
the
was
soggy Paseo. Yes.
which was based on a Starlet.
That's right.
platform.
Okay.
Okay, so I knew I
Very
had-
robust little car.
Oh, you know what? I bought that car for $998 in just before Christmas 2020, and it is. I bought it on a whim. I've never been searching for these cars, but I've got a huge respect. Oh, and I've just remembered another car I've got a car from the 70s that I forgot.
No.
And it's Japanese. So, I'll get back to that. Yeah. So the Paseo, I bought it for $998. They're fetching $5,000 to $10,000 now. It's crazy. It's a manual. It's got 240,000 k's, but it's a Toyota.
But that's fine.
It's
That
right. Great condition.
That era of Toyota was beautifully built.
Yep.
You know, it's even I had a Starlet years ago. I just used to say I drive Life because it had the Life badge on the back. Starlet
Life.
Johansson, I called it. But the build quality was fantastic. It was dull. It was plasticky, but God, it was strong and reliable.
Well, this car's a coupe, not a hatchback.
That's right.
How many B segment coupes do you know?
No.
Yeah,
not very many.
Bugger all. Lancer? I think Lancer did one.
That was a C segment car though.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So we're talking proper small, like
Proper
proper
small,
city,
yeah,
super
yeah.
mini.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
I don't know what to do with this car. I look at it. It doesn't give me much joy to drive, although it has its appeal. But there's just something Japanesey about that car that just makes me love it so much. I have another Toyota.
Yes.
I have a 1973 RT81 Corona.
73.
So it's the
RT81.
last of the second generation in
Is
Australia.
that the six-cylinder?
No, that's a
no,
Mark
no.
II.
Okay.
It's the shovel nose Corona.
Yeah. Yep.
Then it was replaced by something intermediate before they went to the Mercedes looking Corona from the mid to late 70s. It's a 70. So it's from 70 to 74 in Australia,
Yes,
or
I know the
69
shape.
to
I know the
73 in Japan.
A little, would you say, let's not be impolite, but dumpy looking?
Super dumpy.
Yeah.
Narrow track, and this one's a Toyo Glide, but it is.
Okay,
But it's a
yeah, yeah.
3-speed.
Oh, it's not a
this
2,
one's
it's a 3.
3-speed,
Yeah. Wow.
And now everyone can see my car because if you go to Wikipedia and
Yeah.
put in Toyota Corona, and then you look at the generations of Corona, and you go to the
Yours is that.
Yours-
it's the hero car, and it's in Wikipedia it comes out as red, but the car's actually a burnt orange. It's like an orange.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
So it's an orange car.
Very popular car of the day.
Yes.
Colour of the day.
So getting there, I've got that car, and I think that's it for now. I can't remember.
That's an
anymore.
amazing
That's
collection.
That would be close to.
It's getting
You're
close.
getting into the the
Yeah.
teenage numbers there.
Yeah. So
I would love to talk all night about more of these and stories behind them,
Wow.
but we're probably going to have to go.
There will have to be a second.
I think so. And a
appearance, I
drive day, cordially
think.
invited.
Cordial.
Mitsubishi cordially invited. Thank you. Is it a GSL or a GSR? Which one would you like? The turbo or the non-turbo?
I think I'd have to go the turbo.
Yeah.
If I was bothering with the
Cordia.
Cordia, I'd want the turbo.
Yeah. So
Well, Byron,
And-
thank you.
No.
Sorry, David.
No, I was going to say, and we might be able to return the favour with a turbo Cordia.
Oh, yeah, we know someone with a
Nimbus.
turbo Nimbus. He's put a Cordia
Oh,
turbo motor
oh,
into
oh.
a Nimbus.
There you go.
It's not a very good Nimbus, but it's,
No,
it's
no,
been
it's
done. It's
love
been done.
another wheels car of the year.
Yeah,
Yes, indeed.
1984.
Indeed.
Yep.
Oh,
84.
okay.
Love it.
Watch
Thank
this
you,
space.
Byron.
Oh, I've got a Honda Jazz too.
There's always a daily, a nice little daily somewhere.
That's the car I lend friends, like the friends.
Yeah,
borrow.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're reliable. It's I'll pick up next to nothing. But anyway.
Well, when we started talking about podcasting and people we'd have on, one name came up and we both did.
What happened to that person? Did they?
Yeah, they're unavailable, so we said, let's just get Byron.
We'll get Byron instead.
I'm usually.
No, your name was right up there.
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Oh, David.
It's been rude, it's been inappropriate, it's been fantastically educational, and it's been
can't-
fun.
Indeed.
I can't wait. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As we always say, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Truman Show.
Exactly.
Yes.
Bye.